All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are cracking open the course syllabus for SP 111 from Leon Gonzan Polytechnic College, and we're going to see why this specific document is actually your ultimate survival guide for the tech industry. We're looking at a syllabus that goes way, way beyond your basic coding and hardware lessons. This is really all about your development as an IT student in your first semester, setting the tone for exactly what kind of professional you're going to become. So think about this for a second. What makes an IT professional truly successful? Is tech success just about writing brilliant, bug-free code? Or is there a much heavier moral responsibility involved? It is so easy to get caught up in learning the latest frameworks or mastering server environments. But when you're actually out there working in the industry, the toughest problems you're going to face won't always be syntax errors. They're going to be incredibly complex ethical dilemmas. And that brings us to the core of this syllabus. SP 111, Social and Professional Issues, isn't just some graduation requirement you have to blindly check off. It is literally your foundational training ground. It's a 3-unit course designed to ensure you aren't just technologically proficient, but ethically grounded and socially responsible. It asks for 3 hours a week of your time, but gives you a massive return on investment by building the critical thinking and moral reasoning skills you absolutely need to survive our modern socio-technical landscape. Our roadmap for this explainer covers the 4 core pillars of the syllabus: the ethical mindset, navigating digital laws, workplace professionalism, and finally, your path to success. Let's start with Pillar 1, the ethical mindset, and see how this course builds the mental frameworks you'll be using every day. So looking at the 18-week semester outlined in the syllabus, you can see it's a beautifully structured progression. You start inward, spending the first 4 weeks on ethics and logic. Then you expand outward in weeks 5 through 8, covering diversity and communication. After you hit midterms, weeks 11 and 12 push you into the realities of national tech law. Finally, you wrap up the semester looking at global corporate social responsibility and mapping out your own career. It's perfectly paced. In Module 2, things get really interesting. You'll be doing some mental gymnastics comparing different ethical theories. For instance, imagine you find a massive security vulnerability. Fixing it costs your company millions, but ignoring it exposes thousands of users to a data breach. What do? Well, a utilitarian approach says you fix it because minimizing harm to thousands of people outweighs the financial cost to the business. But a deontological approach says you fix it simply because you have a strict, fundamental duty to protect your users, no matter the consequences. You're going to learn how to use these exact frameworks to make and defend tough calls. And then the syllabus shifts into diversity and inclusion, which is definitely not just an HR checkbox. It's about actively building a tech workforce free of unconscious bias. You'll tackle some really nuanced topics, like identifying microaggressions, those subtle, sometimes unintentional things people say, and you'll explore how to champion gender equality in a field that's traditionally been male-dominated. This aligns directly with TESDA competency standards, so it's directly applicable to your future workplace. Because at the end of the day, you have to remember why all of this matters. It is never just about the code. It's about the human beings on the other side of the screen. Broadening your talent pool and fostering an inclusive environment literally leads to better problem solving. The tech we build is only ever as unbiased as the teams who build it. Moving on to Pillar 2, navigating digital laws, we escalate things to the legal and national level. The syllabus highlights 2 massive Republic Acts that essentially act as your dual shields in the industry. First is RA 10173, the Data Privacy Act. This strictly dictates how you securely handle personal information. And trust me, the penalties for messing that up are huge. On the flip side, you have RA 10175, the Cybercrime Prevention Act. That one goes after the bad guys, penalizing hacking, identity theft, and cyber libel. If you're going to be an IT professional in the Philippines, mastering these 2 laws isn't just a suggestion, it's your absolute legal baseline. But your responsibility doesn't stop at the law. Module 6 challenges you to look at the environmental footprint of tech. We're talking green computing practices and managing e-waste. And hey, e-waste isn't just massive server farms. It's that terrifying drawer of tangled cables and dead smartphones we all have sitting in our bedrooms right now. You'll dive into corporate social responsibility, learning why tech companies have to commit to sustainable social goals, not just chasing profits. Let's look at Pillar 3, workplace professionalism, and see how the syllabus prepares you for the actual office environment. What I love about this course is that it doesn't just live in a purely academic bubble. It is heavily anchored to TESDA competency standards. By explicitly focusing on demonstrating work values and participating in workplace communication, this syllabus is engineering you to have the exact soft skills that Philippine employers are actively hunting for. A huge part of that is learning how to navigate team dynamics. You'll be doing actual role plays to practice conflict resolution strategies. Things like active listening, which means actually paying full attention, not just waiting for your turn to speak, and learning how to collaborate and compromise. In a fast-paced tech environment where you're juggling client demands and developer pushback, knowing how to constructively handle a conflict is literally a superpower. You're also going to adopt the ACM/IEEE Code of Ethics. This is basically the gold standard moral compass for computer professionals anywhere in the world. Its biggest takeaway is that your absolute primary obligation is to the public good. So, if a boss ever asks you to deploy something that violates user privacy or causes harm, knowing this code gives you the professional ammunition to push back and say, no, we have to do this the right way. All right, Pillar 4, your path to success. Let's talk about logistics and how you're actually going to be graded. Think of the course requirements listed in the syllabus as your main quests. Yes, you have to pass your midterm and final exams, but you also have to write 3 distinct case study analyses applying the theories you've learned. You've got a group presentation on a contemporary socio-technical issue, an individual portfolio to compile, and a major research paper focused on a cybercrime or data privacy case right here in the Philippines. It's comprehensive. When you look at the grading breakdown, you'll notice a really important balance. Sure, the exams are heavily weighted, making up 60% of your total grade. But your practical outputs, the case studies, and that group presentation make up another 30%. That tells you right there that collaborating well and being able to clearly articulate these complex issues is just as critical to passing as memorizing facts for a test. Now, let's talk about time management, because the tech industry runs on incredibly tight deadlines, and so does this syllabus. Look at this deduction table. 1 day late, you lose 10%. By day 4, you've lost half your points before the professor even reads your work. After 5 days, don't even bother submitting it. It's an automatic 0 unless you have a documented emergency. It's strict, but it's preparing you for reality. And when it comes to academic integrity, it is completely non-negotiable. The syllabus specifically notes that plagiarism tools are in full effect, and a similarity index over 20% is a violation. Copying code without citation, cheating on a quiz, or slapping your name on someone else's work scales up incredibly fast. First offense is a 0 and a conference. Second offense, you fail the entire course. It's just not worth it. So as we wrap up, I want you to look at this quote. The future of technology rests not just on what we can build, but on what we should build. That is the true ethos of SP111 at Leon's Polytechnic College. They have perfectly engineered this syllabus to ensure you become a professional who deeply understands the human impact of your work. So, I'll leave you with this final thought as you begin your semester. Are you ready to take on the moral responsibility of the digital age? The tools and systems you're going to build will literally shape the future. Now you have the exact blueprint to make sure that future is secure, inclusive, and ethical. Thanks so much for diving into this with me.